In 3, 2, 1, go. Good fight. I would say we were like 90% of the way there. I feel like if we had one more round, that would have turned out very differently. GB Scholar, welcome in. Thank you guys for the good wishes. And I hope you've been enjoying these Final Fantasy 2 playthroughs. But if we had Dan with theirs, well then, probably, assuming Dan was not on the side of the Black Knights, it would have gone even worse. I'm not sure why they didn't just tell Maria and Guy that Firion was lying in the next room and totally fine. Instead, they let it be a surprise. You know, it's more fun that way. And this way, we do get to join the army, because everybody wants to do that. Also learn about Wild Rose. They made a second Final Fantasy. Luckily, that was it. Then they realized their mistake. Alright, so we got some bucklers. Let's go ahead and figure everybody to go faster. We want to put nothing on but bucklers. I mean, really. If you had bucklers, would you choose anything else? I think not. Ooh, preemptive, nice. Gonna punch things. We'll definitely be trying to punch as many things as we can along the way here, get our fists leveled up and also our bucklers leveled up. The shield levels are going to be great on everybody for evading things, and especially on Firion because it also improves your ability to escape from battles. For Guy, we want to be, of course, maximizing our fist potential. You guys are going to do a lot of the early game fighting in order to be able to take down enemies that are not susceptible to magic spells. Alright, there's level 2 on those. You know, at level 2 we are no longer getting experience on the fights, but I do still get a bit of money, and what I found from trying it out is that it seems like your chance of running here is still pretty bad. And so somehow punching might actually be the best course, even if you are getting 0 XP for it. Is your 4th character's stats determined by what you've done in the game? Nope. Those are fixed stats, so you will have kind of a benchmark about how you are progressing based on 4th character stats, and you can kind of tell for most casual playthroughs that people grind way, way more than they intended you to. Alright, in like Finn. And of course, because Finn is occupied by the Empire, there's just a whole bunch of random encounters here. Sometimes. Other times, there's not that many. There we go. Got one. They're trying to eat our legs again. So these are the overgrind purely by accident. Yeah, if you get lost and wander around for a while, you'll take a lot of battles, which is going to bump up your stats quite a bit. It won't necessarily increase your weapon and armor skills, because those are going to be opposed checks. So eventually you kind of max out based on the area that you're in for a given amount. You're probably not intentionally sitting in fights for 20 rounds to get the experience regardless. But you'll get hit point increases, you'll get small amounts of stat gains here and there, and it adds up over the course of the playthrough. Like, if Scott had just a little bit more stats, I feel like he would be still the worst member on our team. Woods, one welcome in. Power Boost 666. Thank you, Woods, for the good wishes there. And for Scott. Well, he almost made it. Still better than Gordon. Luckily, can chill up. Gonna go with solo guy here for a little bit for our attack. So let me get more experience built into the guy earlier on. I want to see if I can take fewer encounters in the ice cave when we go there. Yeah, some of those battles are rather slow. The downside is it's kind of scary with guy beating all the attacks and the extra poison damage and things. So while I have a couple potions, I don't know if it's necessarily super safe. We could get some hit points. Yesterday we had some really bad hit points on Guy, which was kind of scary at a boss that Guy can just barely survive. Oh, now my legs! See, their legs are not broken, because they eat legs like nobody's business. Neopals and Afterglow, thank you very much for resubscribing back for 95 months. Fantastic to have you with us here tonight. And I certainly hope that you have been having a wonderful time with Fantasy, Final Fantasy, and with Final Fantasy 2. Alright, push up a bit there. These 3 potions are kind of useless once you leave out of this area, so I don't mind using them up. And you punch your own characters in this version, so there is a couple of differences in terms of the original to these remakes. And the biggest is that you don't have the cancel glitch, so you have to actually do the commands in order to be able to get the experience for them. You can still get basically unlimited amounts of work done in a single fight. Attacking yourself, making sure you delay as long as you can on the enemies and such, but I've generally found that it's not really that super worth it. Mainly because, aside from battles where it's like a hard check on certain amounts of hit points or certain damage output, you're very rarely struggling against any of the bosses. It's actually kind of worse for the random encounters. I feel like the random encounters are sometimes, well, literally the bosses from the last area. AT Cemetery, welcome in. I think this guy got the level up that probably doesn't get any experience here for Triple Goblin now. Gonna need 4 or more of the level 1 enemies. We get level 2 enemies up at the Summit Falls, then that'll be a bit better. We are almost back to Altair. In which we give Hilda the bad news. The side benefit of doing these extra fights is also that I get a bunch of shielding in on Fury and Maria, even though these are relatively weak enemies because we're double shielding. That's 2 actions per round. So they get enough actions in order to be able to still get the level ups. At least for a little while. Alright, time to tell Hilda the news. So about this Scout guy we found. He's doing fine. No, give me the password. All right, there we go. Learn mithril. Pass mithril. And receive canoe. Having to click on learn password when it's like highlighted in red and it's a special command is kind of silly. I just wish they gave you the password automatically. Professor ETN, welcome in. Thanks for the good wishes. TC Material, hope you're doing well here tonight. Now we're going to learn about dreadnoughts. And we're going to take a little walk here. Also, I'm going to get this armor sold off. I shouldn't need the cash, but just in case, we'll have this ready to go. This will let me do my boating without worrying about running out. There we go. Yeah, close to 1,000 should be fine. Got a bunch of boat trips, and then the airship is also kind of pricey. It's like 32 a piece, and the airship is a couple hundred. That one, it's a maybe. 4 leg eaters. I feel like I'd rather do the fights in Summit Falls, especially if you get some level 2 enemies in there. Alright, 1 boat purchased. Let's go. Is there any canoodling going on? Maybe a little bit. Some falls, please. So that boat waiting for us when we get back out of here, but for right now, we'll go into a dungeon. Hope you're not worth it. Maybe. I don't like the bow attack. It is kind of annoyance with these Grimps, but it is good experience. And especially in a pack of 6, you're going to get way more than the minimum required to get your XP up. We get bow 16. It would take a while. Not only is it increasing the amount of XP that you need for each level up, it is increasing the minimum that you need to do in order to get any XP at all in a single fight. So it is actually much more dire than it looks in terms of how much work it takes to go from level to level. Alright, guy got his level up. Be good here. Okay, I'm going to try doing it with a lot fewer encounters in this place, having taken more encounters on the way in. But we should be fine overall. It's nice because you don't have to worry about unrunnable encounters for at least a little while. Once those start, then it gets a lot more painful. Wow, that's fast enough to go before we can run. Don't see that often. Guess that's why they're called sprinters. That kind of makes sense. Hello, Paul. I see you're being useless again. It doesn't even have any mithril for me. They've been mining mithril for however long the Empire's had them at work. I feel like we deserve a small sampler platter. I probably don't actually need that fire tome because I buy a bunch of them, but I did have that time a little bit ago that completely ran out of fire tomes and had to pretty early on get to recycle the enemies. Like, I'm not totally hosed in that case because I'm not reliant on fire tomes since I'm getting the restock early. But even doing it for one area, it was still a bit of work. And pushed by 6 green slimes. Well, the good news is, that's actually faster than having to wait through all the text. I'm going to buckle up just in case we get ambushed there. I'm going to unbuckle guy. Let's protect there. The sorry can only attack the front row, so if guy is pretty well secured, then the fight goes pretty easily. There we go. Good fight. Sergeant's down. Alright. Rebuckled. And just hypothetically, if Minwoo was to have an accident, that would be okay. Yeah, compared to yesterday, a lot better luck on the encounters. Going through the early game really helped out a lot. And kind of intentionally structuring it so I'm not doing as much fighting in the bigger cave area, I think helps because at that point you're better at running than you are earlier. You try to run early and then get the fights in the cave. The downside is you might fail to run a bunch of times. It's a lot slower. It's actually kind of more dangerous because if those run failures stack up, the enemies are getting hits in on whoever's at the front row. So I like being a little bit more upfront about getting the levels, and then at that point you can just kind of quickly speed through it. Not my Minwoo! That Minwoo was a very expensive rental. We are going to owe some fees. One vote for later. Right, you're going to have to drop off the mithril, which will trigger getting the next round of shops. I can't afford the items yet, so I'm not going to worry about buying this stuff for a good while, but this is where you kind of go from the very, very starter items to, like, the next tier up. Rather than having, you know, a town that you reach and then you get a second tier of gear and then a third tier and so on, you instead are getting the advancement by getting a quest done. Mithril. Yep, there was Mythal. Thanks for checking in on it. Now, one thing that would help is if the town had more exits. Would be kind of nice. For later. Right now, we will have one airship. $100 for a float is pretty cheap. Too bad it's one use only. They kind of give you a little bit of guidance about where to go also by the fact that you have these suggested destinations, so you're not having to do as much exploration around to get to places. But it's also not like forcing you to do things in a certain order. You don't have to follow these directions, although you would be much better off if you did. Back you go. Just have to have one person in the front row. It doesn't matter if they're dead or not, which is very helpful. If your only front row character is dead, then anybody that's a melee attacker loses their turn for the ambush rounds. It means those go really, really fast. They're using that a lot. Suspicious Dark Knight. Who happens to be the exact height of our friend Leon. It's probably a coincidence. Away we go. And by we, I mean the Empire. They're going off to destroy everyone we love. And also people that we have just met. They're kind of rude like that. But hey, we got the pass. We're getting out of there. Alright, so that's our Basque adventure complete. Which of course means back to Altair again. The world map in this game is really, really small. But to kind of make up for it, you have to tourist areas a number of times, and it kind of incrementally opens up the things that you can do while you're here. And I should already have this boat purchased. So that's fine. We're gonna get airship to Salaman next. Learn about airships. Learn about Sunfire. And we're gonna learn that Minwu has accepted other employment offers. going to care about that boat. I want to buy the boats in advance because I'm going to be using all my money to buy tomes here. And it would be kind of easy to accidentally buy enough tomes that you wouldn't have enough money for the boat ride back, and that would be sad. Hey, Captain Fiddles, welcome in. I hope you're enjoying your evening here. Alright, maybe you're in charge of the king. If he dies, then we'll know that you're not a very good white mage. Hey, Ninja Frog Fruit, welcome in. Learn about the goddess bell. Need that in Cashew in a bit. But first, we need to do some shopping. Those, that. Those, the rest of these. Wow, I did not have a lot of fire tomes. I guess this is the downside of not doing a bunch of fights in the falls, is that you get way fewer fire tomes to work with. Gonna go the Salamand. Now, most of these are kind of skippable, just a matter of additional travel time if you want to go without the airship. You got a snowmobile. Okay, then hold out on us. And that's how we got Joseph to join the party. Okay, he's already in the front. Now, unfortunately for us, unlike Minwu, Joseph is slightly less good. But luckily we don't need to do a whole bunch while Joseph is on the team. We'll be getting a lot, and I do mean a lot of money. Joseph has an better reputation, but our most famous property is that we like to punch things. And Joseph is a big fan of that. And that's how Joseph defeated the wall. And that's how we got the snowmobile. Huzzah. Alright, one snowmobile later out of here. You get experience with the wall. Unfortunately, this game does not use an experience system. Otherwise, we'd be hitting levels like you wouldn't believe. But in the meantime, let's play a little mini game here. Let's see how we do. I recognize that useless face anywhere. There's you two. There's you, there's you. That side and that side, there we go. All right, one down. Gonna do 3 of these puzzles. And I will just be taking some notes here. But next time, we can do them better. All right, one down. Two down. Man, can't find anybody here. Get you out of the way. You. There's you. There we go. 3 down. Over in this version, it is fantastic. All right, so we did 3 puzzles. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Give me a little bit of time to make sure we get first place times over here. 20 seconds should be good. All right, there's one down. And we get big money and big prizes. Go with 15 here. Ridiculous amounts of money. Well, it's like a 1 in a million chance of getting a single puzzle with no incorrect inputs. So they didn't really think you'd be able to do that a lot. And we just did it 3 times in a row. The trick there is that when you go into the puzzle, it'll randomly generate 32 new puzzles. And they didn't expect you to do more than 32 puzzles in a setting, so no big deal. And if you did 32 puzzles, you definitely wouldn't remember what happened 32 puzzles ago. But we remembered. And that was their downfall. All right, go through here. We're trying not to use too many fire tomes. It's okay getting a couple in here, but my tome count is pretty low. I want some of these fights here, like the snowman that you can do with just running away. This will be the fire tome. There's one down. cost me a little bit of time with doing the saves, but with so few fire totems, I feel like, yeah, if I get a fight like that where it's not really a good battle, we could try and get something better instead. That is not better. Try one more time. Once again, Final Fantasy 1 for the 50 puzzle. 100 is what you get for the NES version, but the remakes generally have way, way better amounts in there. I will take that. Finagle one extra tome out of it. Ghouls by themselves should be fine. Those, not so much. Alright, so 2 tomes used up. Not an ideal ambush, but it is a runnable one, so I'm going to take it. I'm going to high potion for Joseph. As long as he doesn't take too much damage, we're fine. But there are some fights you can take like 100 in an ambush. Those are less good. Four or five, and I think we're probably okay from here. Joseph might not be, but the rest of the team's doing fine. And luckily, because Guy gets big giver, we just skipped that entire bit. Alright, 2 tomes left. At this point, shouldn't be a problem. The step before the boss. All right, we're fine. Push in there. I think everybody is okay. Yeah, we are probably fine. I mean, Joseph's going to be totally okay. No problems here. There's 1. 2 Blizzard Tomes. And my just has a whole bunch of physical defense. So punching, not super effective. And not my Joseph. He's probably fine. Whereas the Adamantoise definitely is not. Hey, look, we got the bell. And conveniently, there's a back door directly from the bottom of the dungeon all the way up to the top. Now, you would think we would just walk over that small bit, but nope, we had to go down the long way. Because of reasons. that's going to be unrunnable. Probably not go with our already diminished party. Right, well, the fight here was not terrible. Take that. That's actually not good. Fine. That is not fine. Losing Joseph is not 100% desirable. I'm going to have everybody in the front row so that hopefully Guy does not get targeted too much. Guy does not have his fists on. Losing so much time for this. There we go. Now the guy's unbuckled. Now we got a chance. I can take him off in the fight, but it's giving up a round to combat to Morgan here. And because we didn't get ambushed, figured it was worth going for it. There you go. Morgan done. And certainly, everyone will live happily ever after. Everyone except Joseph, that is. Because Joseph has had an accident. Hey, Galanzo 2, welcome in. I feel like it's the slow roll backwards that makes you realize that sometimes punching can't solve all of your problems, but it can solve a lot of them. Hey, Galanzo2, thank you much as well for resubscribing back for 65 punch-filled months. Because those months are the best ones. They do revive your party with 1 hit point just in case Joseph was your only living party member, because otherwise there would be an issue with Joseph getting removed in the cutscene there. Only happens like a very small number of times in the entire game for just safety purposes. Other than that, you don't get a lot of free heals. So I'm going to sell my elixirs off. They're worth a lot of money. The cottage is not worth that much money, but I don't need them. Potions. Alright, and then we'll buy 11 ethers. And all this stuff. Sometimes I use like 2 of these. But it's hard to pick which ones that you're specifically going to need. Okay, plenty of high potions, eye drops, and antidotes. I feel like you don't even need antidotes. That's such a tiny part of the game. Life tomes, warp tomes, and a whole bunch of teleport tomes. Which we will definitely not be using for nefarious purposes at all. There we go. Looks like we got everything taken care of. And so now, we'll head over to Cashman. Hey, let's find welcome in. Thank you much for the good wishes there. Alright, so we'll have that ready to go. Do I have my boat? Check. And then my quick detour out to Altair. This is to get me a bunch of fire tomes. I would do this regardless, but especially if I only have like one fire tome left. You're probably not going to have the most fun time in the bit of Cashman where you have a lot of fire weak monsters. Many of them are susceptible to teleport, but this will just get a bit of an easier go for a lot of it. And these fire tomes are pretty helpful for a couple dungeons. Alright, looking good. I think my next thing for time saving is probably cut down the number of mini puzzles to 2 instead of 3. Because I don't use anywhere close to 99 high potions. That's one of the big expenses here, and I can also probably buy fewer teleports right now and get more teleports later. Yeah, there are games that have made the mistake of not ensuring that you've got any living party members and then weird things happen. Sometimes for good and sometimes for evil. Alright, ding ding. We brought our own doorbell. I feel like that's a level of rude that if somebody came to my house and brought their own doorbell, I would be slightly offended. Those for later. We'll have a lot of these for right now. Fire tome. Let's get the high potions up here. It's over here. Ether can be up here. That's fine. Go to the back. This warden is quite expectantly useless. Didn't even know you could get bees in here. Gotta be one of the lowest end enemies that they got. Alright, the land turtle should be fine. I know that there's definitely some formations with those ogre mages that are really bad if they ambush you. Shadows by themselves, I think, are okay. I feel like they come in a group, that is a problem. That's very flammable. Reaching out to Steel Cave with only Kane alive. Yeah, that's a spot. Also, when you're doing like the glitched runs, where characters come in and out of your party at unexpected times, there's lots of ways that you can get things really messed up as a result. be hearing Guy's delightful singing going across there. Until he dies. I mean, really. It's the easiest way to fix it. We'll see if Ogre Maze kills our team or not. Just don't want to see Blizzard. There's a Blizzard. We're fine. Pros, our hit points are so low. It's easy for just a little tiny tap to do it, and once you are down to one character, when it's doing a single attack rather than an AoE attack with the same spell, it is just dramatically more powerful. All right, should be good. 120 is looking like we'll be fine here. Red Soul's just got a whole bunch of spells. You can only use a certain number before it runs out of MP, unlike some games where they have an infinite ability to just spam things. These actually have a resource that gets consumed over the course of the fight, and then they'll switch to doing melee attacks once that is done. Just like they juggle these heal potions back and forth. Gordon's able to keep the team alive while Guy does all the punching. Hopefully Guy's a little bit more punching than that. That 61's really uncomfortable. That's a little bit more than half of Guy's hit points. Okay. Got the miss. We're exposing this game into the town of Melmon. Well, we're going to be using teleport tomes extensively. And once those get busted out, there's no telling where they might take you. But it's probably a really, really bad place. And it's probably curtains for the Red Soul. He's down. Right, guys, buckle up again just for safety. I'll take a save here before opening this box. It could contain chaos after all. You gotta be careful. Oops, I need to teleport this guy, but running works too. Where's that torch? There it is. And with that, we have stolen the fire. It was probably pretty expensive. Sending enemies to Melmon again. Luckily for them, we have not had to send anybody to Melmon yet. But if they get uppity, then we will not hesitate to break out the extreme measures. Also, this is just ridiculously weird. Why would you have a giant mechanical arm built into your airship? solely for the one other airship in existence in the entire world. It feels like there's so many better ways that you could solve that problem. And most of them can be done with chocobos. Let's go. This switch has got a whole bunch of nasty encounters, so while you don't need the chocobo, it is highly recommended so that you're not doing a lot of fights going down here. Because otherwise, that would be bad. Alright, I got this pass. And no further questions will be asked. These are the laziest guards in the world. I think the Were Panther one's fine. There's definitely some bad ones with magicians and spellcasters in here. Probably get that blindness fixed in like 6 or 7 areas. It'll happen eventually. We have the Beast Gloves, which does make Furion very slightly faster. Furion speed is really important for our ability to get past things. Other than that, it doesn't matter the rest of your team members, so Furion just gets all of the agility items and everyone else just hangs out. This aspects prevents stat growth. I don't think they've got any impact on stat growth. I would be stunned to find out otherwise. Now, later on, stunners are unrunnable, so it's complicated. And it's Sid, who's definitely going to be rescuing that princess. Now she'll never be in trouble again. Shadow requires fire, preferably of the cleansing variety. Now, because I've got 99 fire tomes, I don't have to worry at all about my fire tome count here. If I was doing it without that extra trip in there, which is like 45 seconds maybe, then you need to be kind of lucky with a lot of the encounters, or reroll them to get these runnable ones. Which I think takes more time than it does to actually go buy the fire tomes. Because I feel like you get a lot of encounters. Plus doing those with teleports instead of fire would be really slow. Fire is going to work first try every time, whereas teleport, yeah, you know, it might have issues. I'd say I just fixed that, but I didn't really. It's fine. Also, we can see how lazy these guards are. Some of them are surprisingly lazy. Others, you know, they're lazy by accident. Stun is still runnable here. Now, one thing I do like is that pretty much everywhere in this game, there is continuity with door directions. When you go into an area from a direction, it's really important that when you come out of the other side of that door, it's going to be still facing you in the same way so that you're not just walking back into the same location by holding down the button. There are some games that get this really wrong. Now, it's not perfect everywhere in Final Fantasy II, like if you're going into an overworld entrance from the map, it tends to not fully preserve things properly, but I think in dungeons it does a really good job. And what I don't get is that part of the same collection, Final Fantasy I GBA remake, it makes it so much worse than what the original game had. There's so many spots where you end up like on top of a staircase that then immediately sends you back through that staircase again. Weird quick. Alright, one Sunfire later, and we'll have this airship in tip-top condition. We put our best man on the repairs. Now, unfortunately, Dan was our best man, so things may not go according to plan. Also love how dramatically extra slow this escape sequence is. Like, they are moving slower than our normal walking speed. Just to show how casual the situation is. Does Dan have any relations to Dr. Fail? I hear Dan might be a close cousin. I mean, really, when has anybody ever made a giant computer that has not had issues? I feel like it's kind of par for the course. Also, really simple thing, it actually flies you over the tropical island right there. And so it's a hint about where you're supposed to go next. Other than that, it's like, good luck. Oh man, time for the king to join our team. Honestly, King, probably better than Gordon here. Easily one of our top 3 party members. We learned about dragoons. And Marines. We are learning so much today. shields. One trip up to the town of Bloom. We're due to, unfortunately, scheduled boat maintenance. We will have to take the backup boat. Conveniently, they do have one park nearby. As long as this one is not infested by pirates, I think we should be doing fine. Right, the pirates. Well, aside from this, we're doing great. Yes, the pirates are extremely flammable. They're going to be extra toasty tight. Pirates down. That was a really, really slow death sequence. It was trying very hard to delete those pirates. Alright, let's go. Upgrading your shields, and you get shields. You get a gold hairpin, shields. Let's go. It's gonna be mostly care about Furion's agility before everybody else's, so anytime we get agility boosting on it, there's only one more left, which is gonna be the black garb. And at that point, Furion's gonna be pretty darn fast. They're the finest shields that money can buy, and maybe there was some slight embezzlement by an old man, but I feel like they're gonna be great. Let's get a nice break with lots of runnable enemies in here. I feel like more dungeons should have runnable enemies. There's not that many opportunities to get kind of relaxing trips for a lot of the game. Involving the Milmon Mafia again. I mean, honestly, what doesn't? Guy in the front as our decoy should be fine. If I might have to put them back to the back row again. I think it's faster than just the animation being played, so I am kind of okay with it. Almost through here. Man, those horns are wild, but not very big. That's the important distinction. If you had a big horn, that would be kind of a problem. Nice preemptive. I do like how nearly every boss in the game is susceptible to instant death. To be fair, most of the bosses in the game are also regular enemies, so they really shouldn't have a lot of special properties on them. Well, this one is quite teleport-proof. This is 6 try-teleport now. There we go. Finally got him down. Finally got the mask. I wish to teleport out. You're gonna sail over to the east for a bit. Going over the top of the snowy areas, and if I go south immediately, I can get too far south and have to go back to the north, and it's just a guess about how far over I am right now. That looks good. Further east over here should be fine. Very lovely. To the east we go. I think I'm gonna teleport these. I do have plenty of teleport tomes right now, so it's not a big deal, but it is slow for the fights because you get this long animation and then one of them misses, and then you gotta do it 7 more times. But when it works, at least it works. Alright. This has got to be the most flammable encounter in existence. With every passing battle slowly creeping our stats up, one day we might have as many as like 100 hit points. And then we'll be unstoppable. I was one step from that pennant. Teleport's just hitting enemies really, really hard with a buck. I mean, there's various ways of solving problems. This is merely one of them. It is slightly goofy that the teleport spell does drain your hit points. But the more time you use it, the better you get. RPG Break, welcome in. Hope you're all having a wonderful time here tonight. We are playing some Final Fantasy II. A game that you might not see too often, but it is a fantastic entry in the series. And this is the GBA version, which does have a lot of improvements compared to the original. Highly recommend that you check it out, and hope you all had a wonderful time. I was watching the Dragon Warrior Marathon last night. Lots of great games of that series. Hey, Blind Umpire. Gene Storms. Sandy913, welcome in. Set that over here. That should be good. Now that. Back over to Dia's Cave. This time. For real. Alright, side types we can run from. Game's got a kind of complicated system of what you can and cannot run from, so I just refer to like a big table of encounters for things that are runnable or not. Like these things got a teleport. A lot of enemies are vulnerable to teleport, which is a somewhat unreliable instant death spell. And then my other big attack is just fire. This is using books you can purchase. Normally you're supposed to just read the book and learn the spell so you can cast it once. But similar to some Final Fantasy games, we can break rods to get a large amount of damage as a one-time item use. You can do that with books here, and it's the equivalent of, like, not a super high-end cast of it, but decently good. And certainly for these characters, it is way better than they will ever get. Alright, one turn ago, I think you might not even need to deal with the land turtle. Try running with a party members just to get a double check if we fail to get the teleport there. We got. I know if it's the tortoise, you gotta do the teleports there for sure. Might not saved a little while across that floor, so didn't want to take any chances. I got a free turn, I might as well use it. The wing sword gonna get swung? Maybe. We'll find out. Wing sword's normally a really good upgrade. Like, at this point in the game, you haven't had a whole lot of weapon improvements. Like, you're at maybe the 3rd or so tier. And wing sword's just like a gigantic jump up in terms of damage output. So for anybody that uses swords, it's fantastic. For our team, which primarily uses shields and fists, it'll be, you know, fine. Get a whole bunch of these Gigases. Not a lot of runnable encounters in here. And then there is one encounter that I cannot kill with either teleport or fire. That's going to be the yellow soul. Throughout this entire game, red, yellow, and green souls are like the worst things to see. They're not very common. And they're not worth all that much. But other than the one time a single red soul shows up as the boss, you'd never want to see him again. We saw the souls. Try again. That bridge, by the way, is a trap. It looks like it'd be a shortcut across to where we want to go, but if you step on it, you fall down to the next floor down. You have to go all the way back up and around. And well, now we know that the next encounter is kind of up here pretty soon. We'll see if it's souls again immediately. Nope, Gigas will take it. When you reload, you're going to have the same number of steps to the next fight, but you might have different encounters, and you can try and jiggle up the RNG a bit, which will still be the same step the encounter's on, but it might be an ambush instead of a regular start, or it might be a different enemy formation popping in. And I'll use that in a couple places to recycle encounters to get something better if I get a really, really bad fight. Because we're now in the soul zone, I will also be saving up most of the fights. Just in case that happens. Alright, so next fight is just across the bridge. Allegedly, the encounter rate of these is not even that high, but I am pretty certain they're lying. Alright, so it seems like the Giga Soul pairing there is at least decently good for getting me out of it. Kind of a slow fight to have to fall back on with the teleports, but I'll take it. Better than getting a whole bunch of souls in a row. Can you Agama on the line? Well, as long as you don't cross it, Shinobi. I guess that's okay. number 4. Ogre Chief, it should be okay. If it's not an Ogre Chief, it's just an Ogre Mage, I think it's a problem. Revenant is fine. Door number 3. Get ready to fight the Chimera. And like many of the mini-bosses, Chimera will show up as a regular fight later on and is susceptible to teleports. There it goes. All right, Chimera's done. Drop off our Wyvern egg here. Poached eggs are fantastic. We are out of here. All right, so Deist's Cavern is done. Go back around to our boat and head back to the start of the game. Nope. Usually those Ogre Mages are pretty persnickety. We don't have a lot of health, and so any AoE spells can be quite bad news. But I figured give it a try. Yeah, the thing about the bosses, though, is that most of the fights that you have for bosses turn into a regular enemy in, like, the next area. It doesn't even take a very long time before they are recycling them. Alright, see if we get a better fight there. I might do the stalactite fight. Seemed like it was probably acceptable. Solo Ogre Mage would be fine if we get the teleport tome off before the Ogre Mage goes. Seems like the best of our options. And there's like a manipulated step route for this game as well, where you can control where the encounters are going to be and kind of have them perked out for the entire game, but not necessarily the specific encounters that you're going to get. So you still have to deal with a lot of the RNG for the individual battles. I will not be using the step route, but it is a resource that can be pretty good, and you'll have slightly different routes depending if you're playing on GBA or PSP. Otherwise, these two versions of the game are mostly identical. PSP's got a flee command, so you can run away or defend. Which means that you don't have to be doing as many shield attacks. You'll see me just shield with our characters. We don't want them to take a turn. And there's a couple of other smallish differences. But otherwise, largely the same thing. Alright, back out we go. So we're gonna look out for a little hook that we're gonna go around. There should be another one of those. Well, then the third one of those, I think, is when we can cut him. Good there. All right, so zigzag around this. Get a pretty good amount of maneuverability on the overall map once you get the boat roughly a third of the way into the game. But unlike Final Fantasy 1, where you have nice wide open oceans, Final Fantasy 2 has very narrowly constricted passages. It's a more intimate overall map and general design. Ooh, in time for Everyone's favorite fight here. We've got some quiet time. Alone with Hilda coming up. This is a somewhat notorious battle in this game, because if you're not super prepared for it, it is really, really hard getting the Lamia Queen this early. It's a very late game enemy that has all kinds of status effects, particularly charm abilities. But thanks to our intelligence, we will hopefully be fine. You can first try Lamia Queen? Can we get a second try Lamia Queen? How about a third try Lamia Queen? I think it was third try yesterday. Fourth try Lamia Queen. There we go. We'll take it. Lamia Queen is done. And maybe you could have brought the news that the princess had been kidnapped like, 30 seconds ago. It's a little bit late now. I think we figured it out. And as punishment, now Gordon is going to join the party again. Okay, we don't teleport all of our enemies away. Some of them are combustible. Those are the enemies that get recycled. This one, I think we're going to do the next one. Yeah, this is probably fine. We'll take this spot in here. Walk on over to the Coliseum. And this is the area that I went through early with the Chocobo to avoid the encounters because, it's not really the greatest fights. But many of them are runnable. Some of them may be slightly murderable though. I remember I took the south boat entrance in here. Definitely not fall for any traps this time. Except for this one. But as a bonus, while we might have really messed this one up a lot, we do get to have the tutorial fight from Mystic West. Because we're fighting a behemoth. Behemoth complete. And everybody celebrated, especially Guy. Now the second trap. That one, I can admit, you might not have seen that one coming. Yep, first time a behemoth appears in a Final Fantasy game. Earlier was the first time a Choco appears. First time Sid appears in a Final Fantasy game. No Moogles yet. That's like the only thing that they still have not introduced until Final Fantasy 3. But they got a lot of it now. First time Marbles, yep. Although Marbles in this one are actually pretty easy. You don't necessarily want to fight them, but they are really not bad compared to most of the later iterations. Spectre, we should be able to burn. I think around now is when we start getting more enemies that are going to require multiple fire tomes. Oh, but until now everything's been like one shot with fire tome at level 8. Right, death flowers. I think we can burn these too. Ooh, we need 3 though. Blasters and Pixie Master. Pixie Master's got some really good music to it. We need 4 fire tomes. Wow. Did not expect that. Alright, so those things may be better to teleport if you need that many fire tomes to get the job done. Alright, Princess has been rescued again. And hopefully, this time, it's for good. I would say one of the things I love about the speedrun is that you don't need to max everything. In fact, you do almost absolutely no grinding, which is very refreshing. But if you do play the Pixelmaster version, there's Steam achievements for getting, you know, everything maxed out and such, so understandable for the limitations. Alright, I remember that I parked at the south entrance. So I don't normally do. I normally go in the north entrance of the desert here. Back up and over to Finn next. Finn was the second area that we went to. This is the one that had all of the Imperial soldiers hanging around it. And it's one of the spots that if you go to at the wrong time, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. Which does kind of describe like 95% of the game. The downside of everything being kind of close together and easily accessible is that you also can very easily go the wrong way and have a lot of problems. The overworld updated yet, but in the castle, it's going to get a little bit nastier. And we're going to get Layla. She's back. Sorcerers by themselves should be fine. They weren't. But they could have been. Nope. And that's why we save. If I see sorcerers, I gotta try and teleport them. See if that works better. At least we don't have to fight until pretty far into this place. then we get a whole bunch of junk. All right, there we can run. There, as we saw those as a boss in the very last area that we went to. I guess 2 areas ago, but it's still really, really recent. In fact, we only had 1 Chimera as the boss. Now we have 2 as a random encounter. Speaking of bosses, we got our fight with Gatos here. You would never believe is vulnerable to teleport. Gatos complete. Look at that. We've probably defeated the Empire. I mean, he was the enemy commander. That should solve all of our problems. Alright, you want to know about Basidia? And masks and whatever this is? Well, we done that. Now we can head to the secret passage. Here, we're going to go around first. Should be fire toming everything. And I know stunners take a lot of fire tomes. Earlier we had stunners and they were runnable, but here they're not. It's weird. Here. Get a little bit of break for a bit till we get to the teleport only floor. It's nice to have some relaxing time where you don't have to do fire tomes and teleport tomes nonstop. There's a very, very small chance, allegedly, of getting more souls here. Sometimes we don't. One should be fine. I'll go down the southeast corner here next. Now we got our teleport floor. Halfway through my teleport tomes, but this is fine because we get those restocked at Basidia. After that, though, that is when I have to start being a little bit more judicious about the teleports. Especially for single fights that take just a big load of them. If you're using 5 or 6 teleports on a single enemy, not only is it really slow for all the animations, but you might start having to worry about running out of teleports. And one time when I ran out of the teleports at the end of the game, it just got really messy to finish. So I would like to avoid that. Any Ori Helcom? We are doing a lot of teleport tomes. I'm pretty certain I had like 60 of these things a minute ago. But now that we've got the white mask, there's one of the items that we need to get in Basidia. Check. So these are actually walkable from the start of the game. It's just that you are probably going to die horribly if you try to go there too early. It is their way of putting some checks and balances on what you can get early on. Plus, you really wouldn't be able to afford all the stuff there. Bomb teleport. You would think bombs would be somewhat flammable, but no. They are fireproof and surprisingly agile. Bighorns, this was a boss a couple of areas ago. But it's definitely teleport time. Definitely nap time for Guy. He's fine. Yikes. Bring Guy back immediately. Given the sheer number of things to teleport, it's probably going to be inevitable that we need more of those. We get 99 teleport tomes, check. Have some blink tomes just in case we want to use those for one of the boss fights. Now let's mask up. There's not a lot of explanation for this puzzle in the game, but you kind of figure it out because you hit a dead end in 2 different locations. You gotta work out to put these masks on the statues to enable your access into the next area. There's one. And there's our walk over to the Basidia Cave, which is inconveniently on the other side of these mountains. As well, it's kind of powerful. This is only because the book being cracked is an 8th tier teleport. If you were casting this spell as a level 1 teleport, you probably would miss all the enemies. And by the time that you ground this up to 8th tier, it would be so long into the game and tedious for it that you'd be better off just killing things with regular equipment. So it's more of a speedrun thing that you heavily lean on the instant death because it means that you don't have to grind up levels for all of your gear, and that just saves so much time. Yes, more fire encounters, please. Please, I can deal with. Look, is also totally fine. Oops, too far right. Here we go. Into Basidia Cave. I definitely will not be forgetting the black garb. Even though it's pretty easy to go back in and grab it, and you have another chance to get another one. This is an item that will boost Firian's agility up, and Firian's agility is pretty much the only one that matters on the team. faster you get Furion, the better. Be fine. Brains are fine. Brains has got a attack called Swap, which is really devastating for a lot of playthroughs because it'll basically totally mess up your HP and MP scores. But for our team, because our stats are so bad, it actually sometimes just heals you. It's kind of funny. Next one here is down in the corner. Oh, Red Soul. It was going too well. Don't really want to save scum every single encounter, but at least once if Lord Good get a save in just in case of incidents like that. Furion's your white mage. I think Furion tends to be the character that I use with swords most often, although late game Leon is probably the obvious choice for a lot of things. Embria is the best spellcaster you got for a long time, so definitely good to use her in that role. Alright, coming out of here. Go first. Boom, I can go over this way. As long as we don't get too many souls, we should be fine. Hey, mob rolls. We were just talking about those things. Every single mob roll encounter, I'm pretty certain this game is unrunnable. Or runnable. Whereas in most games it is unrunnable. They really beef them up in the later entries of the series. For their first introduction, they were really tame. I mean, they're kind of nasty if they take any turns, but that will not be a problem. One big reason for having the dead character is that it basically eliminates the ability for ambushes to attack in that first round. They can still attack if they have got spells or ranged things, but most enemies are going to be just waiting to melee you. Will not happen until round 2 of the fight. By themselves? Maybe you can run. Nope. Alright, teleport. I know in groups you definitely have to teleport them. Couldn't remember solo though. Take more of those. There's death flowers. Try and run. Didn't think so. Rios is the upgrade to Chimera. This is the same enemy as in Final Fantasy 1, which was Chimera Rios. That was renamed to the Chimera in the US version. And if they blaze us, it's going to be bad news. Want to hopefully get a run in there, but that works too. That's not gonna work. You get XP items for teleport monsters. You don't get any XP in this game. It is only by taking actions that your abilities get better. And so whatever action that you use is going to be exercised by that turn. Case of reading books, that is kind of a magic casting action. So you can improve your spell casting abilities. I think maybe your agility in a lot of this, but you're not going to get much else over the course of the run. This is one reason why our hit points are so low. We have very few opportunities to do a lot of like physical combat and things. As for item drops, yes. Items just work normally for no matter how you kill the enemies. And look at that. We got the Crystal Rod. I gotta fix this amnesia first. Now we can cast spells. There we go. Use the Crystal Rod to get to Lich. I mean, yeah, kind of. We'll definitely get someplace with it. That is for certain. We couldn't have had all these puddings on the way in. They're super fast. That's something we want to see. A whole bunch of. This, on the other hand, you probably don't want to see a Leviathan. Completely stolen for Final Fantasy IV, by the way. So if you know, Final Fantasy II had it first. Power Vest here as well. It's going to be two of our main attacking items. Twist Headband, Power Vest, and Giant's Gloves. Typically going to be your go-to items for melee characters, which do get occasionally used. And pick up Ricard here. Of course, we give Ricard only the best items. That would be a shield and another shield. Alright, it's opportunity for a big fight. And you don't lose. But this boss, you fight with teleport. Almost done. Good fight. The games will sell because of the name. Well, eventually that kind of became the thing. And this is the reason why they renamed the Saga series and the Mana series Final Fantasy in the US when it came out. Was to take advantage of the name recognition, but Final Fantasy as a series did not really have the most solid support in terms of just like initial reception. Because it was up against some pretty stiff competition. Dragon Quest was a lot more established. And I think a big factor that really helped Final Fantasy out is that in the US, when it was released, Dragon Quest 2 and 3 were on the two sides of Final Fantasy. And For the US market, it is much closer in time to Dragon Warrior 2, so those two games got compared. Whereas in Japan, it's much closer to Dragon Warrior 3. And Dragon Warrior 3 is a big, big upgrade over Dragon Warrior 2. So, looking at the two side by side, I think the US market got kind of a unrealistic kind of viewpoint of how it compared to its kind of contemporary competitors. Whereas Japan was a lot more balanced, because Dragon Warrior 3 is a very, very solid game in terms of a lot of design for it. I think we could have set those on fire, but I just saved. So let's try this. Reload, see if we can get back up there. Gonna run from? Generally a lot of bad encounters for most of the rest of the game. That one probably not really even worth fighting. I think you can kill some of them with teleport, then some of them with fire, but you gotta be really lucky to get all of them down quickly. Okay, guys, Bob, yeah, we gotta teleport these. Eventually, most of the Gigases you can start to run from, but it's not until the next dungeon that happens. Okay, the first Dragoon, yeah, he's kind of Dragoonish in a lot of ways. He doesn't jump, but other than that, you got all the Dragoon properties pretty much set here. Now keep in mind when this game originally came out on the Famicom release, it's reusing nearly all of the assets from Final Fantasy 1. So Furion is just like the Final Fantasy 1 fighter and so on. So a lot of the things that are like stylistically depicted here are more like a later recasting of what this game had. Hey, Slimmin, welcome in. Hope you have a good time here tonight. Enjoy some Final Fantasy 2. Because it is Gigas time. Rawr. One Gigas time. Any thieves on our team? Well, they can't all be winners. More of these. Luckily, we got like unlimited fire tomes, so I'm not too worried about the fights there. The government of Japan asked Enix to release Dragon Quest games on the weekend. It's not an official request. Enix changed the release dates, I think, because of just bad media publicity. Of like kids skipping school and unruly lining up on the streets and things. It was not like they were told to do it. They just thought they would be getting bad articles written in about them. Reasonable amount of teleports here. Luckily, I don't need that many for the last area. I've been getting a lot better about not trying to teleport my way through some of the really awkward fights. So as long as I get like half my teleports left, should be fine. Imps are fantastic. We love to see those. These things, not so much. Like, even if you got decent odds of teleport landing, there's enough enemies on the screen, it's going to be like, well, you're going to fail one of the 80%, and then you're paying the full price of more teleports every time that happens. And spooky gigas. He's dead. The fire section, we've done the ice section. Now we can do the thunder section. Later we'll do the poison section, the earth section, the time section, the status ailment section, and of course, once we have all of them done, then we will assemble our complete Gears collection. These are not too bad if you think about it. At least it's a fixed number of fire tomes instead of guessing on the teleport tome quantity. But for the Agama section, that's my favorite section. We may have lost a guy. But we definitely have a lot of teleports left, so let's use them. Jump back. I will say they definitely do not skip on the floors in Final Fantasy II. You are getting your money's worth here. And we're getting the Thunder Gigas. Or admittedly, I did not see that one coming. But he probably did not see the teleport. Guy's doing fine. Been a long dungeon, he needs a nap. Boom, by itself, I think we can run. Fastest we can run. Games we can run. Yeah, keep those up. That's what we want to see. Lots of fast encounters. You know, not all of them are going to work out in Guy's favor, but at least some of them will. And I hear Min was up here, so we can get Guy patched up, no problem. Right from Min. Finishes fighting this door. To be fair, I think we probably could have used the key. And that is how we lost our 23rd party member. We'll put that one down as a accident. Now you get some bonuses talking to the gray orbs around this before you use the golden crystal, but it's a small bonus to a random member of your team, so you have to get lucky just to even get any benefit out of it. Like if our party members have double-digit hit points, we have single-digit hit points. Double-digit would be an upgrade. Sorcerer, I think we're gonna teleport these things. Put a buffer card, yep. I think any random member of your team gets a plus 10 bonus. The stat that gets a bonus depends on which of the orbs that you're talking to. And it's a one-time for each of the 4 stats. Look at that giant cyclone in the back. So there's a giant cyclone in the back. I never would have noticed that. Even though it was ridiculously large and extremely prominent. Use the ultimate zone. Nope, but we are going to use the pendant. Now we can FaceTime that dragon that we put in the lake earlier. I'm not totally certain how the dragon gets in. I am pretty certain this place has walls and ceilings. But that's why it's a magic dragon. Anyway, the dragon got bored and left. Again, I don't think that there's a door over there. Alright, we're gonna fight a cyclone, and that means we are going to need a sword. Sword obtained. Alright, we're gonna be fighting some things later on. We're gonna give you the twist headband, the black garb that we just picked up, and the giant's gloves. But it is now cyclone time. Alright, we're gonna fight these guys, and then it's gonna be cyclone time. Like we're fighting with 2 shields, so we can shield twice as hard. That's a lot of death. And this is why I saved. You know the encounter is like right here. Let's see if we get something better than those guys. Not particularly, but I think Were Panther means it's runnable. Nope. That one also requires teleport. Bighorn requires teleport, but by itself, that's a much better chance than having landed on 7 people. I'll take it. I would have thought the odds would have been better than that. Yep. And now, here we go. Luckily, this dungeon has some smaller floors than the past areas that we've been through, so while it is a lot of floors to get through, we're going to be zipping our way up to the Emperor, who this time definitely is going to be the final boss. I mean, really, who else would they put in charge? What if he's not the final boss? Well, it might be that wood golem. That is a possibility as well. I wonder if I can run from those bighorns now. That's the very first thing I want to try that out. Save a bit of time if I could. Captain Hilgigus. Well, Captain Gigas here might need some teleports. But at least he's eating teleports in generals. One done. Two done. We're done with these cockatrices. That's actually one of the good fights in here. Well, Zombie Borg, no, he's a boss later. More wood golems. The true final boss. Alright, so first one's a wood golem. Let's try jiggling our items and see if we can get something besides wood golems. Saying it would be nice. There we go. I'll take cockatrices. Seagull backslash. Welcome in. Thank you for the good wishes there. Marbles, of course, always good. The captains, I think, are fine. It's only the Lamia queens that are an issue. Swap you two. And let's do this. Ambushed by guards. That's rude. I mean, you think they would have seen him coming. Like, the horses are really, really hard to keep in. Kind of slightly slumpy, but that's probably fine. It is time to fight the Emperor. Who also ambushed us. Ooh, slowed. I'm not a big fan of this. I don't know if we can do this. We have to reload. Definitely need to get everybody down this round for the back enemies, so we don't lose too many people on this row. 2 ambushes is pretty rough. And I'm thinking probably reset. Yeah. That's a shame. That's going to be a big time loss. It's a super slow fight. Double jiggle, see if we get something better. The first ambush was like kind of annoying. Second one was really bad. If we get slowed, then Ricard basically doesn't do any damage against the wood golem, and then it gets pretty messy. Ambushed all 3 times. Only the first and third time. There was one fight we did not get ambushed, except this time we get ambushed again. So hopefully it means no ambush the next fight after this. More warp terms? I don't think I actually use the warp spell. I'd probably choose warp a little bit more often. There we go. Preemptive! That's a lot better. We'll get everybody in the back out of the way, then we can work on this wood golem up close in person. Should be somewhere around here. All right. Guy, I'm going to have you blink on our team here. You're going to use a fire tome. You're going to put on the blood sword if we can find where it is. There we go. And now we should be ready. With the situation, one guy is going to have a much higher damage output on these fire tomes than you would otherwise get. Even Even though Ricard fell asleep because he's so lazy. Should make this fight go well. There we go. Emperor done! And with that, the day has been saved. We will definitely never see that guy again. And this is why we dance. Except for Layla. Layla's dead not dance. This guy dancing guy is taking a nap. And look, that guy may have died right after we touched him, but it was probably not our fault. Unlike the last 37 people that died. Anyway, let's go. Why is everybody glowing? This Ricard got poisoned. And thinking about it. Maybe we should have washed the poison off before talking to the sickly old man. Oh no. There goes Sid. Another tragic, and yet such an easily preventable accident. Look, legally, his airship now belongs to us. That's how it works. Work on the NPCs. Teleport doesn't work on anybody. This thing is a scam. Well, things have mostly gone well. I feel like the teleport luck has been atrociously bad for so much of this game. We don't have a boat. But you've got an airship! And now it's mine. As long as we don't crash it into any nearby towers, we should be totally fine. We may have crashed the airship. Goals should be fine together. We fall for an awful lot of traps. Let's see if we can get something better than Gatos. Gatos runnable. I know later on you get the Gatos packs in Pandemonium that you can't run from. It would make sense for him to not be runnable here, but we'll find out. Escardelli, welcome in. Thank you, Rich, for the raid there. Hope you had a wonderful time streaming tonight. And for those of you who joined us, hope you enjoy some Final Fantasy II. This is the GBA version. Getting pretty close to the end of the game here. We've got a couple more dungeons left to go. So we had a great time watching Nest Cardinale, and welcome in. Sir Cooper, Nest Cardinale, thank you for the good wishes there. Thank you for the raid. Ralphie, and welcome in. Floor 2, due to unfortunate circumstances, we may have found down a little hole, but all we do is climb back up the entire, 10 floors of this place, and we should be fine. And yeah, Gatos here is runnable. It's the next place that you have to worry about. This guy was a boss, an area ago. He was, the enemy commander. I feel like they may have, 50,000 of those. Like vice presidents at a bank. Alright, let me find the queens. That's going to be the Pandemonium here primarily for those. I was able to get turned around. I lost 2 minutes yesterday from going the wrong way on the floor here. We should have a very nice Castle Paladins. So far it's been fantastic. I've only had to deal with one teleporting monster. We got it first try to general. It normally is super hard to land teleports on. So I will definitely take that. Floor 6. And the floor. Oh, I got to teleport. See if we get a better fight anyway. 4 of them's a little bit much to land the teleports on. I don't think they're ridiculously bad like generals are, but they can be kind of tough. Yeah, it's a lot better. As you just saved, it can be faster to reload than to do a lot of rounds of teleport. I think I get a good walk. If it works like the first or second try, we'll keep it. Nope, I'm out. Somewhere around here. That's a lot better. So it'd probably be faster to reset right away. Even a first try teleport would be kind of offsetting the reload time, and then you have the time for the teleport animations to go off. So you definitely don't get a lot of those before you're losing time versus a reset. Assuming you get a decent encounter on the reload. Flying ray, we probably have to teleport these. Okay, looking like 2. 4 out of 5, that's not bad. We'll take it. Yeah, Ricard's probably fine. He needs his beauty sleep. But I need to get past one more encounter here. I don't know if this is the encounter that I would pick. Double General seems pretty bad. It's the first one after the reload. This doesn't work really quick. Yeah, I'm gonna reset, try again. Teleport on Generals is pretty tough. Great. And Dark Knights. They are fantastic. Ricard's probably got this. Except we made the critical strategic error of Ricard already being dead. Just like the Emperor. Don't worry, buddy. Ricard's got this. 1v1 him. It's like Joseph fighting walls. We'll just watch from a safe distance. Alright, it's slightly more like Minwu fighting walls. It is fine. You get an explanation about why the Emperor just, decides not to be dead anymore. Not really. He was kind of bored. If he's Lord British in disguise, well, we'll have to go and pick up that small child just in case there's any spooky ghosts that we need to deal with. I think that would be a tragic shame if even a single one escaped. Anyway, that leans on the team. He's going to need some shields. That's kind of our thing. All right, headband. We got the power vest. We got the giant's glove here. We got Guy leading this team because, can't really trust Leon to do that. Head to the underground passage. Do you like defense for dual shielding? Yes. You do get 2 shields worth of defense, and when you shield things, you shield them twice as hard. Now, allegedly. Other than dragons, who are extremely rare and we will probably never see. Everything else here should be fine. Probably we'll never see them. At least it doesn't have souls. Could be worse. Parasite's draining our magic. My 4 MP. I tell the combined total of our magic for the entire team is not enough to cast a maximum strength spell. Not even one. Even if everybody combined their MP together. Buy some haste tomes. That should be good. We got, yeah, Leon's got 5. Normally, this is considered really bad for MP, but on our team, it fits right in. Zigzag around and see if we can make it all the way to the end of the passageway here. This is our last relaxing stretch before things get a little bit serious. Yeah, Marbles weren't in the original Final Fantasy, but they show up in Final Fantasy 2 here, so they've been around for a long time. Same age as Sid and Chocobos. But younger than Morx. Extremely rare, they say. You'll never see one. Oh, there was betrayal, all right. Lots and lots of betrayal. But hey, enjoy the music and pandemonium here. It's a fabulous song. And this is our final dungeon. Now we're getting to all the runnables that we want, and then all of the teleportables that we don't. So kind of somewhere on the stairs here, about there, in fact. Now I do have teleport tomes, and with enough teleports, you could probably get some of these to land, but they could be really, really tough to land on a few of the enemies, and just the animation time is super slow. Those I really have to, I'm going to try to avoid doing teleports as much as possible. A sub 3, I'm hoping so. Got 9 floors to go. Yeah, we'll try it. Nice. That one's honorable because of the Lamia Queen. Should be good. Real question is going to be, do we get a good final boss fight, or does it take a couple of tries to get something going on it? Because that can sometimes be an issue. That is great. Floor 3. Doing some of the shortcuts were a little bit more prominent. It's pretty tough to find where those passageways are sometimes. And a few of them were actually required. Like, you have to go through the shortcut in order to get to the other side. Worth getting them as you might get, you know, the more teleport tomes. That'd be probably good. Nope. I should just reset when I see the Lamia Queen. This is like first try. Close by themselves. There we go. Because we need to pick the correct door out of 4. It's a recurring theme in this game that there are a bunch of trap rooms and things. These doors, though, lead to other treasure areas. So they're technically not really traps, but for our purposes, they are pretty bad. First one after that's going to be the Lamia. Cut the queen down. So I think if we fail to teleport here, we can still run the next round. No, we're not. Good there. As long as we stay in the back row, we are doing great for ambushes. It saves a bunch of time. That box is moving, of course, the best defense of the game. We're not going to get it. No time for that. Give him 2 tries, just to see if it would work. Now, if you're actually playing through and doing the fights, the Rubina is really good because it gives you a lot of defenses, but pretty much everything you need drops from the Lamia Queens as well. So once you beat a couple of them, they get much, much better over time. Their big issues, they got things like charm and other nasty disabling moves. Squirrel's got a lot of instant death moves, and because it's so hard to get any turns in once you're getting your entire party status ailment up, becomes a really tough fight. But as you get more and more resources for it, so that fewer people in your team are getting knocked out, then it turns to just like easy amounts of really high-end treasures, and then eventually you get enough for everybody, and you can actually farm them for levels on magic and stuff. More of those. All right, so I'm going to try double swapping next. Good. As long as they're by themselves, I'm pretty sure you can run from those. Up to floor 7. Move the menus around 15 energy. Yep. Basically, it's a way for me to kind of try out a couple different nearby encounters. You're going to have the encounters on the same step, so it doesn't move where they take place. But it does change what you're getting in the fight itself. And a lot of times where it's just like, all right, I needed something that's runnable, then it shouldn't take a lot of tries to get a usable thing nearby. Keyword is shouldn't. Now, the PSP version is a little bit more fussy about RNG. It's harder to get things mixed up in it. You often see like the same encounters and the same fights, even with like the turns going exactly the same. But GBA has more like natural randomness involved in it. So these seem like they work pretty well. All right. I mean, he's blue and all, but is he teleport proof? He's also very angry. I feel like we got a good size walk there, so I'd love to win this fight if we could. If we don't get him here, then I'm going to reset. Nope. All right. So it was pretty much in front of the stairs. Not really that much better. The first try teleport I would take. We'll take it. So you could run from. Admittedly, everything except for the Thunder Gigas for the formations you could run from. Floor 9! Nice is fine. Some would even say quite nice. And up we go, floor number 10. Closer to see there's an encounter up here, and then we will fight the Emperor for the second time. Hey, nice preemptive. That's gonna go really well. My haste homes. There they are. Triple toming. Look at that, 16 hits on Leon. Here's 7. Flare might not be good for Guy, but he'll deal. 13 hits. Variant's fine. And the Emperor has been defeated. Not bad. 2 hours, 51 minutes, and 42 seconds. That's a good size improvement. Felt like that one went pretty smoothly for the entire run. I'm happy.